I'm Angela Drummond Matthews. Welcome to week 3 of World Literature 1. Last week we looked at hero stories and how the hero has been consistent through time. This week we'll look at some texts that were written to pass along wisdom to us. One of the most obvious texts in that regard is the Christian Bible, but since we've already looked at that in another section, and since many of you are already familiar with it, we'll spend time this week looking at works that perhaps you are less familiar with. We'll start with the work of Chinese philosopher Confucius. Scholars believe that Confucius was born in 551 BCE in the state of Lu, which is modern-day Shandong province. He spent some time holding political office before becoming a teacher. This is where we get the name Confucius. His real name was Kong Chu, but as a teacher, he was referred to as Kong Fuzi, which means Master Kong. Jesuit missionaries to China in the 16th century then interpreted that as Confucius. The text we're reading, the Analects, take the form of question and answer between master and student. Confucius hoped to instill in his students 4 main concerns. 1, theodicy, in which there's an absolute yet unpredictable power in the universe associated with morality and dependent upon human agency. That is, traditional Chinese cosmology. 2, harmonious order, in which ritual order in terms of aesthetics, morality, and social behavior must be maintained. 3, moral force, in which a successful ruler must be aligned with morality. And 4, self-cultivation, in which one must work at comparing oneself to aesthetic, moral, and social ideas with the goal of self-improvement. Confucius is also known for his version of what we know as the Golden Rule. What you do not wish for yourself, do not do to others. Confucius's ideas have fallen in and out of popularity over the years, from being little known to being the official philosophy of China, to being denounced and then revived. Today, he's recognized for the impact his work has had over Asia and the rest of the world. Next, we'll look at Lao Tzu, who you might have heard referred to as Lao Tzu. Technically, the name means old master and reflects that we don't really know if the text attributed to him, the Tao Te Ching, is really written by only one person or if it's a collection of wisdom from multiple teachers. In any event, Lao Tzu is considered to be an important scholar in Chinese culture and is revered by many. While Lao Tzu may have been a contemporary of Confucius, some scholars think the text may have been created around 300 BCE. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu teaches the following concepts. Wu Wei, which is roughly not acting, but can also refer to effortless action or going with the flow. Ziran, which refers to naturalness. How to become a Shengren, a sage, or a Zhengren, a perfected person. And Da, which means the way or path. The Tao Te Ching also expresses the Chinese concept of correlatives, or what we know as the balancing of yin and yang. As you read, think about what Taoism has in common with Confucianism. Their distinctive traditions, for example, Confucius would say that order must be maintained, while Lao Tzu would discourage humans from trying to place order on the world. However, they draw on the same cultural context. Tuesday's reading comes from Machiavelli's The Prince. Niccolò Machiavelli was a diplomat and philosopher in Italy during the late 15th and early 16th centuries. He wrote The Prince as a book of advice to rulers, in common with many other books of the same type that claim to show rulers how to succeed. Many of these books emphasize morality as a quality of a good leader. Machiavelli, however, takes a different approach. You've probably heard of the term Machiavellian, used to refer to someone who has no conscience and for whom the ends justify the means. Well, this is where that idea came from. Machiavelli teaches that while it might be nice to be considered good, the only proper use of power will allow a leader to maintain his position. Therefore, morality is considered expendable. Some of his contemporaries thought he was downright evil for that suggestion. Since then, readers have had various opinions of The Prince. Some say it's satire. They think he has got to be kidding. Some say it's not a guidebook for leaders, but rather a description of how they behave. Others say he's just being realistic and that you can't always follow ethics in politics. I can't wait to see what you think of The Prince. Wednesday, we'll look at an excerpt from the Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is thought to be about 4,500 years old, and it's a part of the Hindu epic Mahabharata. It was written in Sanskrit, and it takes the form of a conversation between Prince Arjun and his advisor, Krishna. Arjun is concerned about the upcoming war, and Krishna advises him about a number of issues, both practical and philosophical. Among these are the nature of God, the nature of the world, and the nature of the self, and dharma, meaning what is right. Compare these ideas to the other readings. Do you find any common ground? Just for fun, watch Arjun, the Warrior Prince on Netflix. On Thursday, we'll read from the Quran. As you probably already know, the Quran is the primary text of Islam. It was produced between 609 and 632 CE. It is the belief of Muslims that the Quran was divinely revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. It has 114 chapters made up of different numbers of verses. You'll notice that the sections in our book show similarities to stories in the Christian Bible. Think about the ties between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism while you read. Finally, on Friday, we'll read selections from Augustine's Confessions. Augustine of Hippo, also known as Saint Augustine, was a philosopher and the bishop of Hippo Regius in Numidia, a Roman province in North Africa, late in the 4th century CE. His writings form the basis of many of the ideas Christians take for granted, including original sin and the concept of grace. In the Confessions, he recounts the events of his life, his sins, and his conversion to Christianity. Augustine's Confessions model introspection as a method of improving oneself that influenced both Christians and philosophers. When I read this, I imagined what I would write if I were writing my own confessions. What would I learn about myself and the rest of the world? Remember, you'll have a discussion question this week, an oral discussion assignment, and the optional class discussion with me on Friday at noon. Then we'll do another comparative analysis paper. Remember to use the writing help link to make sure you format your papers properly. You can also contact the Writing Center for help. That's all for now. As always, email me if you have any questions. Have a great week. Bye-bye.